Matt, would you call the roll, please?
Councilperson Morelli,
Here.
Councilperson Chase,
Here.
Councilperson Brown,
Here.
Councilperson Kais,
Here.
Supervisor Williver.
Here. I have a couple announcements. There's a burn ban in effect until May 14th. Please don't burn. It's awful dry out there. National Grid will be coming around over the next several months, replacing electric meters. Part of a program. They hope to have them all done by 2027, I believe. And I have a schedule for the Rush Range. It'll be posted if anyone wants to see that. Public comment period. Anyone wish to speak on any topic? You have 3 minutes.
Katie Rice, my husband, Mike Richards, Nelson Prickle. You probably know we're going to talk about the Dollar General property. So I know there's not too much that the town board can do at this stage, but I just wanted to share a few additional concerns on record here regarding the proposal to the zoning board. I spoke at the last 2 zoning board meetings and here at the town board meeting, as you all know. As I've shared with you, if the proposal passes, I do worry about very significant flooding for our home, the neighbors in this building. I'm also unclear how it could have gotten this far when it's on a floodplain, but as I'm sure you're aware, it's only a matter of time till there's another large flood. But most importantly that I wanted to share today, I'm actually most concerned about the next portion I want to share. If the 5 area variances are waiting approval at the next zoning board are approved, this may be done in contrary to state laws. So after doing some reading, I question whether the zoning and planning boards have taken all required steps to comply or be in compliance with all the New York State laws. This includes General Municipal Law 239, which states the county planning board should review prior to town planning board review due to proximity to the county or state roadway. Second, New York State Law 6 CRR NY 617.3 stipulates no agency involved in an action, which includes the zoning board, may undertake or approve an action until it has complied with the provisions of seeker. I've been told this is not what Rush historically has done, but it's contrary to the law. If there's a concern for the blanket approval, contingencies can be created. And then third and last, New York State Town Law Section 267B3 provides 5 areas that the zoning board must review prior to granting area variances. I provided evidence and reasons for each of these sections. This proposal should not be approved at the last zoning board, but one of our residents noted that the applicant actually checked yes to item 5 on their application. So that answer to that question alone regarding this being a self-created difficulty should raise a large red flag to the Zoning Board of Appeals. As the applicant already knows, they already cannot comply with at least one of the requirements for the area variance, but this has yet to be stopped and the vote was moved to the next meeting. Again, I'm hopeful the zoning board members will decline the variances being requested, and again, have stated this directly to them, but I also wanted to bring it to your attention and put it on record here. I do understand that the town board has no control over the decisions of the zoning board or the planning boards. I'm simply just making my concerns known to the town board and to put it on record. But thank you for your hard work and for your efforts to protect our town and staying in alignment with our comprehensive plans.
Thank you.
Catherine Hankins, 2353 Pinnacle Road. I was a little surprised when I read, or someone sent it to me this morning, what Supervisor Schultz and Henrietta had said about our town and our town board. I want to thank you for trying your best to advocate for our town and do the right thing. For the assessment is really a very cumbersome issue for many of our residents, and many of them have been taken completely by surprise, primarily because we had an assessment in 2021, 2024, and now again in 2025. He misrepresented what our town board was trying to do for our citizens. So I really want to appreciate you, but we were asking, or I was asking the board, and you followed through, for the same process that was followed in Henrietta, Irondequoit, and Brighton, and as many other towns have done throughout the state. Doing a townwide reassessment was never to take it off the table or throw out the reassessments, never to do anything illegal, and never to say that we wouldn't have an assessment for 2025. Never happened. I have my statement, and I also know what we discussed. It was to do it right and give the assessor the time to do it right. So I went back in and I just, I know we have so much on the agenda, but I found section 1616, local options are never relinquished. When we signed up for being part of this consolidated assessment program, we never lost our rights as a municipality. Now, we may have signed up in December for something that is unexpected, but you don't lose your rights. And Henrietta last year was in the they were a member of the consolidated assessment plan, and they backed off. They gave it another year. And we know that we had to have over a year to do the right thing for our town back in 2020 to 2021. But it clearly says local options are not relinquished. Nothing in this article shall be construed to was removed from the governing body of a constituent municipality the right to exercise any option which this chapter or any other law confers upon a governing body of a city or town in relation to the taxable status of real property. You can't tell an assessor what to do in terms of an assessment, but the process is in partnership with the town board. And other towns have said, hey, this assessment needs another plan, another process. Many of our town residents who are in rural areas are getting upwards of 80% increases from 2021. Why? Because the formula is land. Some people have nothing to do with the land that they bought. They were buying a house and they ended up with 2 acres, or they ended up with 5 acres. Those subdivisions were done maybe 20, 30 years ago. So they have to fight it. They have to argue it. Last time we didn't have to do any of that. We didn't have any informal grievances. We didn't have any formal grievances. We didn't have anyone going to court except for a couple people from years before. It was done thoroughly. The other thing I just want to bring up is this consolidated assessment program requires, in order to receive the incentive funding, a follow-up with satisfying the standards of quality assessment administration. Reappraisal means developing and reviewing a new determination of market value for each parcel upon current data by the appropriate use of one or more of the 3 accepted approaches. The use of trending, which has clearly been identified, most people have said that the values that they got were from trending, is the sole means of establishing new market value for any parcel, will not be considered a reassessment for the purpose of satisfying aid criteria. Reviewing appraisal values for rural areas. We have more vacant land in this town than Henrietta does have vacant land. It's easy to do neighborhoods in Henrietta, not so easy in Rush. And so people are getting they're requesting, former council member Corbin encouraged everybody to get 5 comparable assessments. It can't be done. Somebody has 3,000 square feet over on East River Road. They're being compared to mansions in Boulder Creek. You know, they have it's just interesting, but it's so scary for some of the people. Some people will not be able to pay their taxes. That was never intended, I'm sure, by the board when they decided that they would save money by having an assessor shared between our town and Henrietta. Nothing can change with the assessor. No one's trying to even say that the assessor is not doing her job. She just needs more time, and she needs a different plan to apply to the town of Rush because we're a rural residential community. That's all. An office review may be substituted if appraisers have data collected, but the property characteristics have to be reviewed each parcel alone. She couldn't have done that. Excuse me. She could not have done that between December 11th and February 28th. Impossible. And we know our former assessor took over a year and a half. They did aerial photos and even here in the state guidance, aerial photos, street level photography. There has been reports that she's gone out there after people have said, I want to have an informal review. She didn't find the house. we need to do better. But I respect what you tried to do at the last meeting. And I would encourage Supervisor Woolever to reach out and see if there's not a way to make sure that our town is not pushed aside. Henrietta, Supervisor Schultz said, a side note, the same decision that the town of Henrietta made last year. We had a new assessor who did not believe that that we were fully set up and prepared to handle a townwide reassessment last year. And so it was scheduled for this year. We're not tied to the hip to Henrietta. We're a municipality that stands on its own. If we miss the boat somewhere, let's make sure it's not on the price tag for our citizens. So let's look into it again. Brighton just did it last week. So this March 1st deadline is, and Irondequoit did it after the fact. And then I found a few others across the state, but that's, we don't have to let our town residents suffer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You want to? Sure.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy, so I'm the town assessor. I worked in Irondequoit when the reassessment was pushed in Irondequoit in 2022. It was done before notices were mailed. There were specific reasons why it was done in the town of Irondequoit. We are not in that same situation, so I've been the assessor in Henrietta and in the town of Rush for over a year. These assessments were not made in haste. I have reviewed the assessments, all of the assessments for the residential property, all of the assessments for commercial property were reviewed individually. So individual comparables were come up with for all of the properties. I have reviewed at least 75% of every single house's comparables to make sure that they were in line. Is the system perfect? No. Are there going to be mistakes? Yes. Why? Because I don't know every single thing about every single property. There are properties that I cannot see from the road. Yes, I have aerial photography so I can get an idea of what's going on the property. But sometimes you can't see everything. If there's a lot of trees, I can't see. Houses I can't see from the road. I can't see behind people's houses. I can't see inside people's houses. That is why the informal process is here for everybody to be able to come to me and say, look, these are the conditions of my house. These are the things that need to be repaired. This is what I think is wrong with these comparables that you have selected. I think there are better ones that you could select. And that's what I'm taking into consideration. I'm holding informals for every single person who made an appointment by the deadline. I think everybody had plenty of opportunity to do that. It was a full 2 weeks that everybody got the notices and was able to reach out to the office and make appointments. And I've been hearing all of the hearings. I'm changing many assessments because I don't know everything about everybody's home. And I am absolutely willing to make sure that I am getting assessments correct. But to say that this was done in haste and that I am treating Rush like I'm treating Henrietta is incorrect. I do understand the differences between the two towns. It is more difficult to assess in the town of Rush because there are fewer sales. There is a wide variety of housing stock in terms of we have a lot of larger homes, we have a lot of smaller homes, we have homes that are on larger lots, we have homes that are on smaller lots. There's a lot of farms with houses on them. So there's a lot more variability, and that takes more time. I have taken that time. I am only here for 1 day a week, but that does not mean that I have not spent hours and hours in my office in Henrietta working on my Rush numbers, working 6 days a week, working 12 hours a day to make sure that the assessments that I have put out are as fair and as equitable as could be for a mass appraisal project, which is not going to be perfect. And it's not expected to be. That's why there's the informal process. That's why there's the formal process. I won't be changing my mind. If there was going to be a pause or a stop, it has to be my decision. And I'm not finding where there has been a widespread mistakes or, some sort of systematic problem that really would need to be clawed back. I am correcting mistakes based on what the information people are bringing to me. If they're bringing me better comparables than the ones that I have, I'm using those comparables and then valuing the properties. Anybody who misses the informal grievance process can still go through the formal grievance process. They can bring their grievance to me right at May 1st. I will review those grievances. I have plenty of opportunity in the beginning of the month to review those grievances and possibly stipulate with people, which means they don't actually have to come to the Board of Assessment review. If I find something that is a mistake, I will change it. My goal is not to have wrong assessments. My goal is to have fair and equitable assessments. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what the process is designed to do. I hope that the people of Rush understand this. I am not planning on changing the process at this point. This process was started in September and has, worked its way through the process for all these months. So did I miss addressing anything? Is there anything else you wanted me to talk about? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy, my wife Teresa, we moved to Rush about almost 6.5, 7 years ago. Honestly, we're starting to wish we hadn't. We had 6 acres overlooking Canisius Lake. We got 3.5 here. We're paying almost double the taxes. Our house is comparable to what we had there. In 2020, we were assessed at 225,000. Our new assessment is at 500,000. The house has not doubled, more than doubled in assessment in that short period. It just can't. Not to complain about any of the neighbors. Got an airplane sitting in the neighbor's yard. I'm actually kind of fine with it, but it's not a $500,000 neighborhood. It just isn't. I guess I do have an appointment for my review. I've talked with my bank, my mortgage lender. They've said no. I talked with the appraiser yesterday. He said, yeah, probably not. The realtor pulled 7 comps, 6 of them were less money. These houses all had blacktop driveways, public water, which we don't have. Bigger lots, bigger homes, everything we don't have. The only one that was higher was actually in Mendon, and they had an in-law suite and a security system. We don't have that. So a lot less taxes, a little south of here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann?
Hi, Marianne Rizzo, Stoll Road. I just want to talk about this microphone mostly because I would like you to consider getting a better microphone, especially here. Sometimes when you listen to the recording on YouTube, depending on where the person's standing, you won't hear everything. And depending on where the person's standing, even now, let's say, move just a little bit, I don't know if they can hear me. So you really can't hear too much of the citizens. And I think to make it more accessible, we want to hear from the citizens at all times, or anyone who's presenting, etc. You're doing better with moving your mics closer, and I appreciate that. I know you've been making an effort, but I would say I would give those mics like a grade of C. Out of A, B, and C, I would just give him a C. But I think, and I know someone that used to come to meetings, he couldn't hear that well. I can hear very well. He couldn't hear that well. He doesn't come anymore. I hope he can still hear it on YouTube. So I would recommend just a little upgrade with the microphones, if you could. The other thing is, I hope that you're really listening to the people on Nelson Parkway. And I know they've spoken here and they've spoken at the zoning board, and I've listened to them. And I told you before that they're the primary stakeholders here, and Pleasant Street too, or Pleasant Drive. But they're the primary stakeholders, and I do think I've heard everything they say and have said, and I just hope that you think about if you were to live in their home in the backyard of this project with all of the issues they've raised. I won't get into them all. You've heard them before. So I just want you to pay particular attention to the residents on Nelson Parkway. And I think, if this does go through and if they could they're going to need a reassessment next year because their property values, and I'm sorry to say this, Katie, but their property values are going to go down. That's a given. So I hope they can jump into a reassessment because, and I feel for them. So, anyway, so I know that it's not in your hands right now, but thank you.
We really need to move into public hearings. Supposed to start at 7:15. Anyone has a comment later, after the public hearings, we'll go back to comments. Read the notice. Do you have the notice?
Local law number of 2025 to amend the zoning law of the town of Rush, chapter 120 of the code of the town of Rush by amending 120-12 commercial districts and 120-57 requiring off-street parking of the zoning law of the town of Rush. Please take notice. Public hearing will be held by the Rush Town Board at the Rush Town offices, 5977 East Henrietta Road, Rush, New York, on the 26th day of March at 7:15 p.m. local time for the purpose of amending the Town of Rush Code, Chapter 120 of the Code of the Town of Rush by amending Section 120-12 commercial districts and 120-57 required off-street parking of the zoning law of the Town of Rush. And the public hearing was posted as required by law.
Anyone have comments? Scott?
Scott Strock, 195 Works Road, and I'm also a member of the Code Committee. Was here at the prior public hearing of these same two subjects, and I heard two concerns I wanted to comment on. One was on parking for multifamily dwellings, and that I just want to say that is not something that the Code Committee changed. It's in the current code. It's not to me, it shouldn't be changed. But the problem that was mentioned there is that it requires one of the parking spaces to be in an enclosed garage. And to be honest, the Code Committee did not discuss that topic. But I would say that it seems reasonable and consistent with the other types of dwellings that requirement be omitted. Okay, so not require one of the parking spaces to be in a closed garage. There is also a requirement there about screening from, I think it says any other adjacent lots. When you think about the case where it's a multifamily dwelling, the next lot may also be a multifamily dwelling. And it seems a blanket screening like that also seems unreasonable. And maybe you'd want to say something like should be screened from from adjacent lots that have one family dwellings or something like that. But just wanted to point that out. It's not the Code Committee here to make a recommendation specifically. The other topic was architecture. And there was some concern about the ability of the planning board to essentially hire an architect and charge it to the applicant. Keep in mind that the planning board does not have architecture experience. The ability to hire an expert and charge it to the applicant is really nothing new or unusual or unreasonable, because in the 2025 and previous fee schedules, one of the stipulations is that all legal and engineering fees incurred by the planning board for consultation and review of a site plan, special permit, or subdivision application or inspection or site conformance to an approved plan shall be charged in full to the applicant plus a 15% administrative fee. So we did discuss that once again, and that's the feeling of the Code Committee that that's reasonable as it's written. I do want to give one other anecdotal story. I had some minor wind damage to my home about 10 days ago in a windstorm. And I had a reason to call my builder to talk about his recommendation for who we recommend I come and get it fixed. And we got to talking about this type of subject, and specifically, it's nothing to say about the Dollar General proposed for this town, but there is a Dollar General in Caledonia where he's from. And he's really disgusted by the looks of that Dollar General. And his comment to me was, you folks have complete control, meaning that town boards and how they set up the laws and planning boards can control what commercial buildings look like, or they should. So there you have a major developer into this town in full agreement that planning board should have the ability to make buildings look good. And that would be the way to do it. Having said that, I don't think that would be invoked frequently or at all. Because typically, I think I mentioned before, commercial applicants have a reason to make their buildings look good. I mean, they want to look like a good company. They want to look like they have a good product. Typically, they will come with plans that are appropriate and something that you can be proud of. In the event that they don't, however, that is exactly the kind of hook you want, so that you can get expert advice and get more leverage to make it look good. So I'm just saying, even the other side, the contractors, believe we should have that power. That's it.
Thank you.
I thought the only question I had, Scott, I don't think it was architecture that was in question. I thought it was the landscaping that we
Just like-
questioned.
I agree.
Oh,
We
I'm
left the
sorry.
Yeah,
architect.
it was just the landscaping because
Okay.
we already had that a percentage.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
I
it's
have-
good.
I agree with the comments that it's hard to hear out.
Okay.
I don't know that it's a microphone problem. It may be a speaker problem, that it's not being, I don't feel it's being
Yeah,
amplified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so regarding landscaping. You could argue the same type of engineering type of comments in the write-up in, I think it's 12069. That gives the planning board wide responsibility or capability, authority for saying what landscaping should be there. That's already in the code. There is this 1% rule, which I think is quite reasonable when you think about it. $1 million project, built $1 million building would only require $10,000 in landscaping. And putting it in those terms, it actually is what Pittsburgh does. It could be trees along the road. It could be landscaping around the building. It could be islands in the parking lot that towns like Mendon require. Of so many parking spaces, you have to have so many islands, that type of thing. So it seems to me very flexible and reasonable as well. And again, we'd rather have the applicant come with their landscaping plan than tell them what their landscaping has to be. So again, the code committee discussed that in some depth, and we would still think that's a reasonable way to propose it.
Typically, when you have a commercial project, they come with it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it varies. There was a plan to put a drugstore to drive through of some sort over here on the Big M lot.
Mhm.
And that guy came with full plans. He made the colors and the outside of the building fit very well with this town hall being one of the prominent buildings. On the other hand, we've also approved buildings and site plans and never had any visibility of what the building was whatsoever or any landscaping. It's varied. I would like to see the planning board be more active in that regard.
Just for note, Dollar General has been in front of the planning board 4 separate times to get input from residents on how they.
I could see we're headed in that direction, very much so. And that's why I said that my comment about the Dollar General in Caledonia had nothing to do with what's proposed over here. It's just an observation of a contractor who lives near there.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Think so.
Thank you, Scott.
Catherine Hankins, 2353 Pinnacle Road. First, another thank you to whoever prepared the document so that we could see what was crossed out. I haven't really had to use the commercial code in a long time. but I have a couple comments on page 7. It says other farm uses in this district, including buildings, shall be subject to the requirements of commercial businesses, including site plan review. New York State Ag and Market laws will apply when applicable. That could be sort of revised because we're a right to farm community, and I recall it coming up for maybe it was for a greenhouse, something, and it really caused the applicants some difficulties because they wanted it to be meet a lot of requirements that really weren't necessary. So it's a real opportunity for us to really reinforce that first and foremost, we want to follow the New York State Ag and Market laws to support our farm businesses. And then just some way to really reinforce that, I think really is required because it seems like an afterthought rather than a first thought. And on page 10,
But I just want to say, we did talk about that, and that's why that is in there.
oh, is a afterthought, I just.
Not as an afterthought, but
It just seems like,
it was an intentional addition to make sure that we, you know, would be following, you know, the ag and markets
Yeah,
law
yeah.
because of our community.
I just recalled, I had looked, only because I looked up a lot of the law because of what had come up. And it said that it should be sort of almost a course. If it's an ag and market issue, that should take precedence or that should be followed. And it puts aside our zoning somehow to reinforce it. I can't remember what, but I came and said we should really follow the ag and market. The second thing on page 10, whatever's the right thing to do. On 10, it says the storm runoff retention areas should be allowed in the setback areas and I think it should not be allowed in the setback areas. I think that is one of the concerns, even though the Dollar General will be tied to the hamlet conditions and in any parcel, that should be in addition. It really is those setbacks should really be preserved and maintained. It's really for many reasons. And then below that, that was part B. And part C, it says, and not less than 50 for parking areas, and the driveway shall be sufficient distance from the road intersection so as to not interfere with traffic, and not less than 50 feet from the intersection. If there are two separate driveways, they shall not be less than 50 feet apart. I mean, 60 feet is what we need for a flag lot. 50 feet is just not enough to have two driveways come off. And this is for commercial buildings that are not in the hamlet. It just seems to me that that's much too little. And just knowing sort of how difficult I think it's going to be for the Dollar General, which I've spent more time looking at, 100 feet from the intersection wouldn't be enough. It's all about traffic patterns. You can see how in 50 feet apart for two driveways. I just don't think that's enough for other areas of our town where there's where we're trying to have commercial buildings. And I don't have anything about the.
So I don't know what it says under mixed use hamlet, but that's a whole different,
No. I'm
zone.
saying I would expect more here, far more here. Because
Okay.
This is in whether it's in High Tech Drive or it's in sort of these developments that are being considered for West Henrietta Road. Everywhere else, it should be far more distance. The hamlet is constricted by its space, but not the other areas of town. We don't have that much commercial. I mean, certainly I read through this, I thought, whoa, the door is open. I don't know how all of these things can fit into our town, but it's a welcome mat to commercial enterprises. But let's make sure that it doesn't complicate, because people will want to be by the intersections. But almost every intersection in Rush is a potentially dangerous intersection. Just where these would be, West Henrietta, East Henrietta, Rush, Henrietta Town Line Road. There's just so many intersections where if we had a commercial business there with that kind of distance, that could be difficult from that intersection. Having seen a couple accidents, especially at 15 and 251.
So I'm not saying that your comments aren't valid, but wouldn't the Department of Transportation also have a say if there was a, intersection, they would have to approve any plan for a driveway. Am I correct, Scott? Okay,
The appropriate governing body, could be the county, could be the state, or could be our highway superintendent here. And remember, the 50 feet says it shall not be less than 50 feet. It also says it shall be whatever's necessary for safety.
I thought that was little.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do we make a motion to close the public hearing? Make a motion to close the public hearing on commercial code and off-street parking.
I'll second that.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Brown,
Aye.
Councilperson Kais,
Aye.
Supervisor Woolever,
Aye. Yeah, back to public comments.
Miss if I don't mention the 3 other homes regarding the Dollar General across from Papa's. Yeah, on Rushmenden Road. So, and I think I mentioned her before. There's a woman with twins and our family with twins, and the bedroom of the twins is facing the Dollar General. So I guess I just want to put this in real time for you and all the subwards that, it's going to really affect the homeowners and, the diesel and the flooding and the idling of the trucks, the lighting, all of those things. So, yeah. So I just didn't want to forget to mention the woman with the twins, and then I didn't talk to anybody else over there. I don't know them over there, so I don't know her either, but she was outside one day, so I asked her how she felt. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, moving on to the approval of the minutes. That the deadline get struck from the minutes?
I took it up. I saw
Okay.
it.
It's gone.
Yep, gone. It was never there.
Anyone want to make a motion?
Yep. I so move to approve town board minutes of March 12th, 2025 as amended by town clerk Hargrave. Do I have a second? A second.
Who is that? You. Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Brown,
Aye.
Councilperson Kais,
Aye.
Supervisor Woolever,
Aye. No transfer of funds, approval of the abstract.
Okay. So I so move to approve this abstract after having reviewed all vouchers on abstract 3-2 of March 26, 2025, authorizing payment totaling $52,646.44, which includes Fund AA General for $29,029.22. Fund DA Highway for $14,724.15, and Fund LL Library for $3,312.01. Do I have a second?
I'm sorry.
Chase. Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Brown,
Aye.
Councilperson Kais,
Aye.
Supervisor Woolever,
Aye. Board members, Deputy Supervisor. Oh, yeah, we should. do
yeah,
that.
that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So we need to rescind a resolution that we made recently that it turned out we couldn't do. So I move to rescind resolution number 100-2025 of the March 12th, 2025 Town Board Minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Brown,
Aye.
Councilperson Kais,
Aye.
Supervisor Williver.
Aye. Now report of officers. Okay,
I have nothing to report.
Jean?
Thank you. So I attended the Rush Fire District Fire Commissioners meeting on March 18th. And, you know, they're still looking for volunteers. It's an issue. We need volunteers. But an interesting thing was pointed out to me by one of the commissioners as I was sitting there, who happened to attend our last board meeting, which was very well attended. And he noted and wanted to make us be aware that we should think about a spillover area when we're having a meeting that could be well attended, if we have any idea that it's going to be well attended, as that one was. There were people in the hallway. He was concerned that we were over capacity and we don't really have any egress here, and could be a safety issue. So we should think about, if we think it's going to be a very well attended meeting, that we have some kind of a plan for a spillover area downstairs somewhere where they could hear what's going on. I don't know what that might be.
Meet at the firehouse. Big room over there.
Okay,
That,
I don't know.
yeah, I had no idea how big, that wasn't even on the agenda, but we'll have to keep a better eye on things.
I wanted to pass that along in case that ever
Yeah.
comes up, that we gotta
Yeah.
think about that. And then last night I attended the planning board meeting. There were two applications up for public hearing. One for a new tenant over on High Tech Drive and the other one for a lot line adjustment. And both of those are continuing because they're still waiting for some input from Monroe County. So that's going to come up again. And I tell Dan last night, so you're going to see those things again. And then they have another application coming up next time for a new house build over on Stony Brook. So good stuff.
Very good.
That was good.
Luther?
I attended the part of the conservation board meeting via Zoom. And gave a report basically shortly that we modified the paving for the commercial districts for pervious material. That's really about what we got. I know I've been working with the solar group a little bit, and they've been working with
The code committee.
the cold committee, and it sounds like things are moving forward pretty good. That's all I got.
Derek, do you have a report?
Yeah, I attended the zoning board meeting last Thursday via Zoom as well. I was in my truck actually driving, so I couldn't hear it all that great, but two applications they were reviewing, obviously the one being the Dollar General. That was tabled till the next meeting in April. I'm not exactly sure what the date is. And then the other one was regarding the solar law. One thing I just want to point out, and I know Chairperson Hetrick had said this, that even if the zoning applications are approved, it still has a long process, because I know there's a lot of concern with the floodplain, and that, the secret process is not going to be easy. So I just wanted to share that.
Okay, thank you. Town clerk's office have a report?
We have processed 4,622,880.56 of town and county taxes to date. Both the town clerk and deputy clerk attended Monroe County Tax Receivers and Collections meeting in Sweden on March 21st. And in the future, the town clerk is thinking about possibly adding a $2 fee for non-residents getting notary service. That's it.
Thank you. Kevin?
That's of course.
I attended the open government meeting that was Tuesday. Very informative. I attended the Monroe County Supervisors meeting that was last Friday. Last night, Rush Henrietta School Board held a meeting for town officials about their budget coming up for next year, or for 26, 27. 26, 20, 25, 26.
Yeah.
25, 26. That was informative. They're Rush Henrietta has the lowest tax rate in the county of all the different school districts. And they spend on average $30,000 per student, which is the highest in the county. Rush Henrietta has a lot of special needs students. A lot of people move to Rush Henrietta because they have such good programs. So their expenses are high, but the tax increase will be below the 2%, which they're allowed. That shouldn't be a problem. And the budget should remain pretty good unless they're forced to buy electric buses, then there's going to be a problem. But that's not until about 27. So they're trying to plan for that, but buses cost twice as much and they don't have the range. So if they have to buy electric buses, they're going to need more buses at twice the price. Went to a meeting for the library board last Tuesday, and yesterday I went to the board for industry, about the students and the facilities over there. They're in desperate need of people. They're down 48 people in the house with working with the kids. They can't get in. Everything is stretched over there, but they're working on it. They have job fairs all the time and just hard to get people. And I think that's it. Moving on to old business. We did get 2 responses for engineering services. I'm in the process of setting up interviews for the 2. Hopefully get those accomplished next week. And we can choose one and move forward.
So what's the next step? We're not going to discuss them tonight.
No, I have to set up interviews. I sent out the proposals,
Yeah, okay,
but I want to talk to them today.
okay.
Haven't had a chance yet.
Dan, if you're going to talk to them, one thing I wanted to add is their billing rates. I mean, they're not, because they got project manager, senior planning associate, engineer 3 and engineer 2, and just try to figure out how their rates line up to the other. But
Okay.
other than that, I read through them all in detail, but they've all got pretty good backgrounds.
Yeah, we'll interview. Resolution to adopt local law. Are we going to make any changes?
Yes, I just want to make sure that whatever you guys want to do that's accurately reflected. So I know there was some comments made at the last meeting and at this meeting, so I just want to make sure that or there's a consensus with the board on what changes need to be reflected in the final version that goes to the state if they're approved. First had to do with I know we just had a follow-up discussion on the landscape consultant. Was that provision that the board wants included or excluded from?
So there's a cross through which was discussed at the last meeting.
Right, and
Do we still feel that way?
I guess I feel that since we already have that earmark that they have to put 1%, that project into landscaping, that I don't feel like we need that provision. That the planning board, they already have, they can dictate what you're planting or what goes in, but I don't think that they, since you're already requiring them to spend a certain amount of money on the project, I don't think that it's necessary for the planning board to be able to hire a private landscaper or landscape architect to come in and do it. That's my feeling on it.
The 1% requirement would be, you have to put the money into it.
Yes.
So it's not just sticking bushes in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the planning board will have say in how that landscaping's done.
Yeah.
But it's coming out of the applicant's pocket. It's already written into the law. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to
Dan.
leave it.
If I remember correctly, that 1% was not inclusive of grading, earthwork, sod, anything like that. It was strictly planting materials, correct?
That's how I recall it.
So we want to get rid of the planning board may hire landscape consultants as it deems appropriate.
And we did cross that out in the,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we just wanted to make sure that it
Okay.
wasn't fine. Yep.
okay.
And if there's anything else in there that you saw that you wanted to discuss or tweak, I just want to make sure that, you know, that what was in the red line is what, what wants for the,
I'm still okay with that.
and with the commentary from this evening, I think that need to be addressed. So,
And there was a parking space for 2-family homes. One needed to be inside. We were scrapping that.
I'm comfortable with not requiring one covered parking spot. Do we want to discuss the screening at all?
I agree with Scott with the screening from a single-family home.
You want to have it screened from a single family home?
so instead of from adjacent properties, adjacent, single family residences.
I got something I wanted to ask.
Okay.
So under landscaping, section B, it says 1% of total building cost. That could be interpreted as just the building itself, not the entire project. So if you're doing $1 million project and your building is only 700,000 because you got 300,000 of incidentals, then you'd be less that much.
The other
Scott?
the other big concern would be a building that has a lot of process equipment inside of it. The intent was only to be the building. That's why it's stated that way.
Okay.
Not
Thank you.
the land and not any equipment.
When you say building, it's not just the building, it's not the purchase of the land, but all the site work and doing the building,
No, it was intended to be just the building.
just the
itself.
building. Okay.
Yeah.
So if our project cost was $1 million and we had 300,000 of incidentals, which would be everything outside of the building, then we could only 1% of 700,000.
Correct. And also would include the land.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I'm fine with it like that.
I was okay with the rest of it. I don't know, I looked through it.
And what's that with the parking, the 50-foot driveways,
I'm fine with that. Yeah. But I think it's pretty well covered. I mean, on a lot of those roads, it's,
highways.
Yep.
County.
All right, so we need a motion.
So I will make this motion. It's a resolution of the Town Board of the Town of Rush regarding local law number to be determined of 2025 to amend the code of the Town of Rush by updating chapter 120-12, commercial districts. So I so move, whereas the Town Board of the Town of Rush, the Town Board, has determined that it is in the interest of the Town of Rush to amend the code of the Town of Rush, the Town Code, by deleting chapter 120-12 of the town code and replacing it in its entirety regarding the commercial C districts. And whereas a public hearing on local law number to be determined of 2025 was held on March 12th
I think it's and continue.
and continue and March 26th, or what is today?
You're right.
26.
Yep.
It is 26th, 2025, in accordance with the requirements of the New York Municipal Home Rule Law, and notice was posted as required by law. And whereas all persons at the hearing desiring to speak on the matter were heard, all correspondence on the matter was read, and these statements were considered by the town board. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the adoption of local law number to be determined of 2025 is not an action as defined under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, and 6 NYCRR Part 617, collectively referred to as SECRA, and thus it is not subject to review under SECRA. And be it further resolved, upon due consideration by the town board, local law number to be determined of 2025, a copy of which is attached and incorporated hereto, is hereby adopted, and that chapter 120-12 of the town code shall be amended and reflected in local law number to be determined of 2025. And be it further resolved that notice of the resolution shall be filed and circulated to the extent required by any applicable provision of the town code and/or any relevant statute or regulation. And be it further resolved that said resolution and local law shall take effect immediately upon the town clerk submitting the same to the office of the Secretary of State for filing in accordance with Section 27 of the New York Municipal Home Rule Law. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Kais,
Aye.
Supervisor Williver,
Aye. I'll need a resolution to adopt the off-street parking law.
Resolution of the town board of the town of Rush regarding local law number to be determined of 2025 to amend the code of the town of Rush by updating chapter 120-57 required off-street parking. I so move, whereas the town board of the town of Rush, the town board, has determined that it is in the interest of the town of Rush to amend the code of the town of Rush, the town code, by deleting chapter 120-57 of the town code and replacing it with an entirety regarding the required off-street parking. And whereas a public hearing on local law number to be determined of 2025 was held on March 12th, 2025, carried through to March 26th of 2025, in accordance with this requirement of the New York State Municipal Home Rule Law, and notice was posted as required by law. And whereas all persons at the hearing desiring to speak on the matter were heard, all correspondence on the matter was read, and these statements were considered by the town board. Now therefore be it resolved that the adoption of local law to be determined of 2025 is not an action as defined under New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, and 6 NYCRR Part 617, collectively referred to as SECRA, and thus is not subject to review under SECRA. And be it further resolved upon due consideration by the town board, local law number to be determined of 2025, a copy of which is attached and incorporated hereto, is hereby adopted, and that chapter 120-57 of the town code shall be amended as reflected in the local law number to be determined of 2025. And be it further resolved that notice of the resolution shall be filed and circulated to the extent required by applicable provision of the town code and or any relevant statute or regulation. And be it further resolved that said resolution and local law shall take effect immediately upon town clerk submitting to the same to the office of the Secretary of the State for filing in accordance with section 27 of New York Municipal Home Rule Law. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Brown,
Aye.
Councilperson Kais,
Aye.
Supervisor Williver,
Aye. Moving on to new business. Need a resolution approving the town clerk and deputy town clerk to attend the New York State TCA training.
I so move to authorize the town clerk to expend allocated funds for the town clerk and deputy town clerk to attend the 43rd Annual New York State Town Clerks Association Training Conference in Syracuse, New York on April 28th and April 29th, 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Brown,
Aye.
Councilperson Kais,
Aye.
Supervisor Williver,
Aye. And we need a resolution approving finance director to attend the Association of Town Finance and Personnel School training.
Make a motion.
Aye.
Authorize its director to expend allocated funds to attend the 25th Annual Town Finance and Personnel School in Saratoga, New York on April 22nd and 24th, 2025. Right, second.
I'll second that.
Councilperson Morelli,
Aye.
Councilperson Chase,
Aye.
Councilperson Brown,
Aye.
Councilperson Kais,
Aye.
Supervisor Williver,
Aye. Upcoming meetings, Conservation Board will meet on the 10th of April, Zoning Board on the 17th, then Planning on the 22nd.
Just a reminder, we do have a workshop coming up. I think on April 7th, Monday, isn't that it? Okay, to discuss and other code sections regarding residential
Yes.
property. But I don't want to forget and lose sight of, and I see Scott left, but code section 120-5, the definitions section
Yes.
that he sent to us, that we need to get that on our agenda so that we, because it's in tandem with all these other things that we're doing, so gotta make sure we don't lose that.
Yes. Good point. We conducted all the town business. I make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Got to the highway superintendent's report.
I know, I looked up and I saw your face and I said, oh no, whoops.
It's still pretty hard for me.
I hope you don't have to plow. I hope there's not plowable snow.
When we got all the equipment, they looked into the speakers. I'm not really sure what the.
Go back to.
We gotta hire somebody. I wanna do this.
yeah, no,
I mean, it's nuts.
We have
no, thank you for letting,
Yeah.
can't figure it out.
I wanna do a Zoom meeting. I can hear better on a Zoom meeting. It's perfect for
It
Zoom.
doesn't seem like the speakers in the ceiling.
Yeah, I agree with
I'll have
that.
to
They work just fine.
Works good, fine on Zoom, doesn't it?
I can hear better here than I can when I'm at the meeting. So whatever it is,
That's the problem.
it's the speakers at the place. It is not the recording system. Where Gene sits, if you're sitting back from the table, I can hear everything just fine.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure who said it. They think it's the speakers, but I think they're right. I think
Did
it's,
work on that?
When people spoke at the
We can-
microphone, when people sit back in their chairs, I can hear everything on Zoom just fine. It has to be the speakers.
Yeah.
So you're also still on Zoom, so have a good night.
So it's speakers that are not.
Could be, yeah.
We're always nervous about touching stuff in there. You touch one thing in there and then nothing works.
I'm not
But
touching.
Tim, when Derek is talking, you can hear Derek through the speaker,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but you can't hear you. So it has
Oh,
something.
so when he's speaking over Zoom, you could hear him?
Yeah, really well,
You can't hear them at all. hardly.
no.
really
There's
well,
gotta be
because
something.
you don't have a speaker up there. Well, but that's way over here.
Yeah.
So, but I've
Gotta be
got
something
one,
in the
and
connection
yeah,
from here to there.
so that's the weird thing, we can hear him really well, but can't hear you at all.
We'll have to ask Steve.
Yeah.
He's gonna be around.
Pam and I talked about, it's those microphones going to the speakers.
Back home. June or July. I thought they had all these in stock.
Yeah, well, it still takes time.